I'll start off with the first discussion I had. So usually in my first class, every time I take up the OB in the first term for the MBA, so they were really fresh, very much open to learning, very disciplined. And the first question I asked them is, why MBA? Okay. And then I get a screaming voice in unison saying they are here for CTC. Very clear, very clear. So it's for them, it is about, मैम लोन लिए, लोन फिक्स करना है, इसके लिए लोन से ज़्यादा पैकेज लेना है और निकल जाना है Big Four, and they're very clear about it. So they have nothing to do with academics to begin with, and setting this as a tone. So does an MBA degree like kind of kills the entrepreneurial or risk-taking ability for the students, and like what are your thoughts on it?
So I was just sharing with her that I am also a PhD scholar from XLRI, so I'm in the 4th year, and I taught a couple of batches, Pledge to Flex, how does companies should adopt hybrid working and so on. What was very interesting for me is that compared to my MBA days and now, the interest level of MBA aspirant or MBA graduates have come down quite a lot. What is also indicative of that, how much value they perceive from the courses. That's the perception. Here, coming to exactly the point what you said, that has the risk-taking attitude impacted because of MBA degree? It's a lot based on the personal choice which you have overall. I still see a lot of entrepreneurs coming out. I mean, the trend has changed in last few years. We see more tech entrepreneurs than B school entrepreneurs overall. So this is a shift in the trend change which has happened. However, what I believe is that the MBA education, if people go through, it gives you a very good content to understand what works and what doesn't work. And of course, we talked about originality before. Your failure of originality should not become somebody else's not to-do list. So all the things, I mean, I'm sure we also had a lot of debate that, why do we read about Porter 4, whatever, 5 forces, SWOT, and all the, 2x2 matrices and so on. We have to understand these are tools which you can choose to use or not use. But if you use, very likely you will have better perspective on the decisions which you're going to make. So for sure, MBA adds lot value. Risk-taking, I'm sure you're from finance, risk-taking is a personal trait of an individual. It has nothing to do with, MBA education. Of course, education in general defines a risk, but MBA education in per se doesn't impact the risk-taking attitude of a particular individual.
In my opinion, actually, an MBA education, in a manner of speaking, enhances the risk-taking ability. So it forms a bedrock where it tells you that if you want to succeed, these are the different disciplines that you need to know. These are the different viewpoints you need to know. These are the different frameworks that you can apply. And that entire, that euphemism of it depends, it teaches you not only to maneuver out of situations which maybe a lot of MBAs do, but those who really want to go entrepreneur, they already come equipped, one with a framework, and the second with a kick-ass attitude which says, I can do it. So in my opinion, honestly, it enhances and allows you to take risk, but it's not a blind risk that you take. In a manner of speaking, it educates you and says, these are the pros and cons, this is the way you approach a topic. So it's structured thinking, but as you rightly said, risk-taking up to a large degree is a personal trait. It only helps you structure it. That would be my take on it.
If I may add, right, I'm an internal auditor, so, risk taking, and she's from KPMG, so risk management puts food on our table, right? So if you ask me, right, the biggest risk is not taking one, right? So if you're looking at a bank, when you lend money, some of them are going to go bankrupt, but and you might not get it. But if I don't lend money, I'm not going to make money, right? So then how do you do, so if you look at what does risk management do, it is taking calculated risks, hedging your risks and making sure that you have all the controls and measures and stuff like that. right? Even when I look at my own kind of career journey, I finished my chartered accountancy and then I was looking for an MBA, and and I know it was a big investment, and the opportunity cost of 2 years out of the work, and I wrote my CAT. Unfortunately, I couldn't clear it, so I ended up doing a CPA, and it was a big investment for me. Almost a lakh of investment, and as a new, and this is about 25 years ago, right? And then I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm putting so much money into it. Is it worth the investment, right? Now, when I look back, it's probably one of the most profitable investments in my life because, it pays you over multiple times over, right? And if you look at, Mark Cuban or Warren Buffett and say, what is the biggest investment you've done? They'll always say investment in yourself, right? So when I look at an MBA and, when students look at it, actually when they are living that journey, it almost feels like, oh my God, I'm spending a lot of money. But if you fast forward 20 years later or 30 years later, right? I mean, that's the same way I'm looking at my 1 lakh, and then I look at, it's almost silly to me saying, did I even think about it? I mean, I've done multiple investments, but probably the single most profitable investment has been that. So that's what I would say.
Maybe if I can add, I'm slightly extrapolating this into the cultural diaspora of the Indian society itself, right? I really do not see a correlation of MBA and risk taking to kind of go. I mean, one can't be juxtaposed by the other. If you look at it, there's an urban and there is a rural sector, right? I'm just stemming from my cook's granddaughter. She just finished a BCom, and I asked her, "What do you want to do?" She said, "I'll do an MBA." Right? Now, there are people, or there is a sector of people within India looking at MBA as an inflection point to get better jobs. Or people shifting from tech to whatever, sales, marketing, whatever, right? Or people could be just doing an MBA after your normal degree to get to a very, very cliched track of, I may get appointed here. So I really do not really see the correlation, but yes, people, and there is another aspect to it. If you look at the entrepreneurs, today's entrepreneurs, most of them are MBA graduates. They could be having a great pedigree under their belt, right? So I guess I cannot really generalize in my own sense or in my own head to say MBA is kind of really impeding risk taking, or MBA is brings in propensity for risk taking. So I guess, I would like to conclude it like that.
So I think I just want to add one more point to that. Right? I teach also in multiple colleges. Saturdays usually I teach in different colleges, both in engineering as well as management schools across South India. And I ask the same question, right? Why did you join this course? And MBA kids, when I ask them, apart from jobs, of course, I think we need to really think about what are the different types of kids we get who do the MBAs. One, as she said, somebody who wants to shift. I'm an engineer, I want to get into financial sector, so if I do an MBA, I can easily get into that part of it. Second is corporate world, I want to get a job, good package, etc. Third is I've got a bad bachelor's degree from a bad college. I want to reset it by saying that I'm alumni of IIM or alumni of XLRI, because they don't talk about the BBA or the BCom or other things they've done, they talk about the MBA, right? That's the other thing. And then entrepreneurship, of course. I want to start something of my own. I want to understand the basics so that I can do it. And the other one is research, right? I'm really interested in this topic. I want to go deep into this. 6, 7 different categories of students do come in. So
Maybe just one more category is we don't have so many of them doing from tier 1 colleges as well. Right. We also have students doing from tier 2, tier 3. And where does it land them? It's just another category that you could potentially add.
And I think we talked about whether they'll be able to take bold decisions or not. I think any education gives them, it's not about bold decision, it's about informed decision. And I think MBA helps you do that in many contexts. So I think that's more important. And we always talk about unconventional thinking. And I don't think day to day we need unconventional thinkers all the time. You need conventional thinking. Unconventional thinking or thoughts is important. You put it out there, but at the end of the day, 80% of the job or 80% of the opportunities can be actually milked with conventional thinking. There are 20% of these opportunities. I don't think degree is required to even do that. You don't need an MBA to take bold decision. You don't need MBA to do unconventional thinking. And many stories, many examples are there which actually shows that.
I've also done a few experiments where I've given them a question saying if money didn't matter, what would you do? And you'd be surprised that a lot of people said, I want to be a chef, I want to be an influencer. And you don't expect an influencer to be in an MBA class, right? So it totally surprised me when I saw those kind of responses. Then I asked them jokingly, I gave them 3 choices, quite similar to your 7 category. I typically ask them, is it because you want the CTC? Is it because you want to get married and you have that IIM tag or something like that? And you would be surprised again, there are people who put their hand up because they come from families where it matters to say that I have this pedigree. And the last category that I give is because you truly care about this particular topic, management and leadership and all that. And most often it is CTC that they're chasing, whereas their heart is somewhere else. Their heart is truly somewhere else. So adding to your point, are they really risk averse? They're not, right? If you look at it, they're just chasing this CTC, and it's often instant gratification. And there's also so much peer pressure that if someone has a particular CTC, you want to match that particular CTC. So you're not really chasing your true dream, you're chasing something which is a societal pressure or a peer pressure that is currently induced. And when these people come to the workforce, their thoughts are also either in CTC, so if there is a better job opportunity within the first year or the second year, then they're trying to make those initial jumps so that they can get their return on investment from these expensive courses. So it puts them in a tricky spot, and the organization also in a tricky spot. And we see that when they come in with frameworks, and I can't put everyone in one box. I see exceptional MBA guys coming out of these programs who are extremely fluid, they're fungible, they're able to think beyond the box, they have critical thinking, they're able to solve different problems. But because of these pressures, I see majority of them. If you apply the 80-20 principle, there are a lot of people who are chasing these CTCs and all of that you mentioned. Given a choice, I think they would do what their heart asks them to do.
I have a degree, but I don't know what I did in MBA. I was trying to remember that. So I am in one of those 2 categories. One, I was working somewhere in a MNC at that time, and I realized that if you have to move up the ladder, you have to have an MBA. And so that was one reason. And second reason was the one that you mentioned. My love life wasn't going very well. So if I had to get a good wife and arranged marriage is the only option, then MBA had to happen. So that's what I did. But I think MBA is basically, if I think myself and why, it's those guys who want to follow the process, who don't want to take the risk, who know that this is a working formula to get a good job or a good salary or a good spouse or a good whatever. So you follow that, try to execute a little better, be better, and you will get a. So expecting innovation from them, either the fact that he's joined MBA is not, he can't do innovation. Tell me one great innovator who's genuinely done something is an MBA. Maybe 1 or 2 would be there. It is not that there won't be, there would be, but that would be exception. Because that design, it's all about framework. So that's.